Can I say one of my favorite action scenes is very early on in the movie is when Will Smith meets Tom Sizemore's character. And Tom Sizemore plays this almost like a cartoon mobster, right? He's just this sweaty guy sitting in a basement eating spaghetti. And that looks like a freaking sport. He's the sweatiest he's ever been.
Yes, he looks.
Tom Sizemore's main job probably was just sweating into bottles. Selling that.
Most people in Tony Scott's films are wet.
They're so wet.
A lot of the time.
What?
Yeah. Things are he's got a lot of wetness to him.
But then like Will Smith's character is always wearing a woolen cap. So I'm like, what's the weather?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how you know he's a hero. He's the driest.
Love it. And we're rolling.
We are rolling. It's a beautiful day in the city. We've been out.
Crisp 15 degrees.
Crisp 15.
I am terrified of the sun.
Which is crazy.
But I wanted to step on me today. I'm so happy that the gloominess is over now.
Everyone's out. Nobody's dressed in clothing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a normal...
Take old biddies in the sun.
Yeah, it's a normal West Coast thing.
Hell
you guys
yeah.
wouldn't understand. Okay. Yeah. Anyway.
Gloom over.
Welcome to the Low Ceiling. I am John.
And I'm Pri. And today...
What are we talking about?
We're talking about Enemy of the State 2004.
Welcome back to Scott Fest.
Hell
We're celebrating the work of the Scott brothers. As we said last time, Tony Scott is no longer with us.
Rest in peace.
Tragic loss. Rest in peace. Kind of timely. Another person from this film is no longer with us.
Tom Sizemore.
Tom Sizemore died.
My God.
Yeah, that was pretty sad.
Literally this month.
He lived a hard lifestyle.
Hey.
And in this movie, he looks like he's living it his hardest. But, I mean, a tragic loss. Tom Sizemore was a great actor.
Yeah, I agree.
He's in one of my favorite films of all time, Saving Private Ryan. He's one of the best parts of that movie.
Yeah.
Enemy of the State. We've been talking about this for a while because I watched this like pretty recently. And we've been... So I've been thinking about it for a really long time. But you have something more important to say.
Just before we started recording, I was telling you how when we were floating the idea of wanting to do this podcast, which, addresses movies that most people don't quite like. When we started doing this podcast, my first movie that I wanted to talk about was Enemy of the State.
It's really good. And it's a little on the upper limit of what we might talk about because this movie is not, in my opinion, quite as like underrated.
Yeah.
But it didn't get great reviews, but I think it's been reclaimed in lots of ways.
And I think a lot of that has to do with just shit happening around us right after this movie came out. Just being in the news, being in the politics.
Well, it was like a full 15 years before like even the Snowden stuff came out. But
oh my God. But 2001 Patriot Act, baby.
Yeah.
As soon as 9/11 happened, this movie was as relevant as it could have been.
I was going to make a joke being like, oh, I'm so glad this isn't based on a true story or else like people would be able to track us on our phones and stuff. But it's true. And there's something actually maybe we can say about that because when I watched this movie, Larry King features prominently. Rest in peace, Larry King. Features prominently in a couple scenes in this film, and there's this thing at the very end when he says this thing. It's the last line of the movie.
That's right.
He says, "What about my home? You have no right to come into my home." And in a weird way, it sounds like a warning.
Yep.
And I was like,
it's a harbinger of what is to come.
What did they know? It's wild.
It's fantastic.
But so this movie is the one you thought of when I brought up this really, really bad idea of what to do for a podcast.
And I was like, we can salvage this. Let's talk about Enemy.
I'm trying to guide you towards, you asked me what my movie was, and it's going to be way less impressive.
It's going to be Spring Breakers, isn't it?
Do you want to...
No, I'm just kidding.
No, definitely not.
No.
Should we give the origin story of the pod?
Let's do it.
Do you guys want to hear the movie that made me think of this idea?
Which was
It's going to be so underwhelming.
Oh, God.
I'll give you a hint. We have talked about the director before. However, he's part of a directing duo, and he directed this film by himself.
Ridley Scott?
No.
Oh.
He's one of the Hughes brothers. And it's a film called Broken City, which is not good.
Why?
Because
why?
Sorry, we're going to talk about Enemy of the State, I promise. But
yes.
Broken City is so insane, especially when I thought of this idea. It's 2020. There's lots of protests about police violence against African American people, and this movie is about Mark Wahlberg in a police-involved shooting of an African American man, and he's like, "Ooh, that was rough, but I work for the mayor now." Like, it just, that as an idea is, the reason I thought of it, and like Broken City's not terrible, it's not good, but it's not terrible, but just that idea, like, can you imagine in 2021 pitching that to a whatever, being like, yeah, so our hero, he shot a black guy, and no, like, that's never gonna happen.
Get out of here.
Like, it's never, and so the way that aged poorly is what made me think of this idea. And then, most importantly, I watched the incredible films that I mean, spoiler alert, but Now You See Me and Now You See Me 2, which really cemented in my mind that there could be a whole concept here that we've so far failed to execute. Enemy of the State is a really good movie.
Yes.
I mean, really good. It's a good movie. I think it kind of epitomizes Tony Scott's style.
100%.
With one caveat. I think the ultimate Tony Scott film, in my opinion, I know people are going to say it's Top Gun, but he hadn't quite developed the style that he eventually perfects in a little movie that we're going to cover someday called Man on Fire.
Ooh,
which
baby.
I
adore that film.
like Enemy of the State, and I realize it has problems. I love Man on Fire, and I will hear no ill will against such a insane film.
Can you imagine if instead of Will Smith, Enemy of the State had a Denzel character?
Well, interesting you should bring that up. Do you think it would be a better film?
I think it would be totally 100% different. And there's a reason why Denzel's a safe actor, right? He doesn't really go for movies that makes him sound kind of like, oh yeah, I'm just a goofy guy who cheats on his wife, and I'm just a silly goose. I do silly goose things. I mean, there is Training Day where he's out there.
He's kind of a bad guy.
He's kind of a bad guy in it, but he still plays roles that are reasonably like on one single track. You know what I mean? Like, there is not too much depth to a character like Denzel's. Not taking away any of his credibility at all. I'm just saying he plays either a good guy or a bad guy. There's never like a gray area, which I think Will Smith is so easily able to dance in, especially in Enemy of the State, where Will Smith is just this,
Will Smith can't play a bad guy, in my opinion.
But he does it so well in this a little bit.
He's not a bad guy, though. He's clearly a good guy. He's a labor lawyer.
I guess I was stretching the understanding of bad. I mean, okay, there's
hints of corruption.
Yeah,
certainly.
Thank you. That's the word for it.
But Denzel. So it's really interesting you bring this up, because Tony Scott obviously worked a ton with Denzel, and in Tony Scott's films, Denzel is almost unequivocally a hero.
Yeah.
In most of those. So to prep for this, I watched Crimson Tide. I watched Deja Vu. Deja Vu was probably the best movie I've ever seen. Makes no sense whatsoever. But that movie, again, I was like Denzel is so good in this.
Yeah.
Like, Denzel is Denzel. So he just he's like got the Midas touch in lots of ways. Like, I will watch anything with Denzel. I mean, I sat through Fences. That's how crazy I am.
Yeah.
I sat through I sat through all 9 hours of Fences, and I was like, that was a pretty good movie.
That's because our queen had that powerhouse performance, man. It's just a double whammy.
Viola? Mm-hmm. I mean, Viola's incredible in that movie.
Beast. Oh,
but yeah, like Denzel, I don't know. He does play a villain. Like, in Training Day is like his big villain turn. But Denzel is, in my opinion. Well, okay, sorry. I kind of take back what I said, because in Man on Fire, he's a hero, but he's done a lot of bad things.
Yes, which he regrets.
Which has caused him to be an alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. This actually gets at something that like Tony Scott is so well known for, and you can read about this. You don't have to. You can skip ahead and not listen to this. But Tony Scott's whole thing about having protagonists that are just ostensibly very regular people at all times who are thrown into these irregular situations.
Yeah.
Even Man on Fire, I think, is like Man on Fire and Top Gun are examples of are counter examples of like highly talented and skilled people at something. But at the end of the day, they're still just like they're just regular pilots in the Navy. Or Denzel was a soldier and then a contractor. You know, so like, but lots of his movies, like the greatest example is The Taking of Pelham 123, where Denzel plays a subway line manager or some shit. And he's just like, Tony Scott has this big thing for having regular people. Even Will Smith is like, you have to believe that he's a lawyer.
Yes.
And he's not the biggest star on earth.
You know what? I don't think they could have got anyone else who can convincingly play the guy who is just a labor lawyer and also be sprinting down the highway at absolute speed for 40 minutes straight. I think Will Smith, with maybe the exception of Tom Cruise, who would be able to pull off this like, oh, I'm just this super fit action guy, but also...
Yeah, Tom could have done it. And I will say, I have luckily, knock on wood, never had to hire a law professional in my life. But when I do, I will be like, hey, come outside. So just run right down that block.
Just run.
Sprint as fast as you can. I'll time it and we'll just see. And then we'll see how it goes.
And lawyered.
Yeah.
Good.
You're hired.
You're hired.
You're hired, Will. Can I want to ask, speaking of Will Smith, we've been on Will Smith a lot lately.
Yeah.
We did iRobot. Doing this, we'll get off at Will Smith for a minute here. He just makes movies in this zone.
God damn it.
He just pitches right down the fucking batter's box.
God.
Excuse me, right into the wicket. He bowls his ball directly into the wicket.
No.
Is this? No, this is a big question.
Mm-hmm.
Is this Will Smith's best movie?
No. Not to me.
Go off, Queen.
There are so many that I love him in. Of course, there's, the quintessential Men in Black.
Yeah, Men in Black is actually...
Men in Black is as much his movie as it is Tommy Lee Jones's, right? This one, in Enemy of the State, I feel like it is a little bit more of other protagonists in this film, who we'll talk about when we come down to the plot. But I think Will Smith's best movie, for me... Personally, it's a two-way tie, okay? And you're going to throw something at my head. I like him in Hitch.
I've actually never seen Hitch, but I know it's pretty influential.
And it's just made for him. I think he's perfect for that role. And another thing that he absolutely kills it in is Focus.
Yeah, Focus he's good in.
So I think...
Can I ask a question about Hitch?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it would have worked if Kevin James and him switched roles? Soft pitch.
Okay. He can be suave.
Will's a little outside the industry right now due to some things that he did at certain award shows.
Yeah.
Hitch. We're gonna reboot Hitch.
Yeah.
Will Smith plays the Hitchy, and Kevin James plays Hitch.
The Hitcher.
Yeah.
As long as Eva Mendes is there.
Shot for shot remake.
Yeah. It's like it could just be triple Eva, and then it would still work.
Triple Eva.
What is your favorite Will Smith? Is it this?
It's hands down Men in Black.
Yeah, right.
Followed closely by this.
Got it.
I know. It's hard for me to say because I haven't seen King Richard, mostly because that movie looks terrible. And also like it's weird because like I've been Will Smith has been on my mind obviously because of us talking about him a lot, and. I was thinking about like the whole slap thing, and sorry, the Oscars were recently too. So I was thinking everyone there was some in the back of people's mind stuff about the slap, and I am a little annoyed at him because the slap to me was just like this weird part of culture turned into an actual action in real life.
Yeah.
It was like a weird thing of like clapback internet culture becoming a real life action. And I was always, the way I see it, I'm just kind of like, Will, like a lot of famous people, some people who write fucking stupid wizard novels.
Yeah.
There's certain people here just like, you could just shut the fuck up or not do a thing and just be happy and just sit on your ass and just accumulate your money and be a happy person. But instead you somehow get yourself back in the limelight for really dumb shit.
Yeah.
I mean,
you know,
rappers and wizard novel fucks, like they all kind of do. And it is a little, it's frustrating to me because I always really admired Will Smith.
Yeah.
Because like this dude, I mean, we
He's
were talking about Gemini Man.
Yeah.
And he's a very talented guy. And I was a little bit like, I wish the slap didn't happen besides the obvious reasons that it's like ridiculous for a man to do that.
You know why I think though that the slap did happen? And a lot of it is because I feel like Will Smith is so much a product of the internet off late. Ever since his son Jaden Smith has taken off in his rap career, he's obviously like one of the bigger Smiths in the industry. And
now he is the biggest.
In like Jaden Smith's shadow, Will Smith feels a little bit like, I'm Jaden's dad on the internet. I'm just doing things like falling down volcanoes and there's a camera crew following me around. And he's obviously doing more for the internet, living in the internet in the last 5 years, Will Smith, than he has been in the cinemas. So now Gen Z is not going to know him as the Men in Black guy. They're going to know him as Bright Side or whatever that other movie that came out.
Yeah, I mean, we can go back. You can, dear listener, like you can go back to what we said in iRobot about like the run of films he was on. He was so powerful and such a towering force in the film industry that, yeah, you're right. Maybe people don't really get that. But then again, I think the reason the slap might have been so big is like everyone who bothered to be watching the Academy Awards live was like no one under 30 was doing that. So it wasn't that big a deal. But like it matters so much because like when you think back just how big of a deal he was. And for us stupid millennials who ruin everything. Yeah. In my opinion, Smith was a way bigger deal than Tom Cruise.
Oh, for sure.
At that time when I was just growing up, like it was like I knew Men in Black. I had seen Independence Day. I had seen all of these movies. Smith was such a towering figure.
Oh yeah.
And as just and like not and yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. It made me frustrated in a way that it's like, well, this doesn't really have an effect on my life.
No.
But I am kind of like, dude, I wish he had never done that.
Yeah. Super big megastars are allowed to have something that makes them a little bit more human. Like Tom's got Scientology and Will Smith's got the slap.
Tom Cruise had the couch jumping incident and stuff, which like
that's still kind of an endearing thing, right? It's still net positive. His reaction to
he's come back even stronger from that though,
there
right?
You go.
Like people all I remember when that happened, people all thought he was a fucking kook as well, you know? And maybe Tom is, but
Will Smith's always been a goody guy, no? I know he swears in his
very
movies.
Very wholesome.
Very wholesome dad. In his rap for the longest time, he didn't cuss. And then, of course, now someone says anything weird about his wife, he's going to get on stage and beat the shit out of you. So
what if Will Smith's comeback is he drops like a heavily explicit rap album? It's like
DMX.
It's like the 2001 Dr. Dre, but Will Smith just like oh man,
it's gonna be great. I would love to see it. I want that. I want that for me. Yeah.
It's got like old school like skits and stuff.
I can't. No, it's too pure.
Okay. The other movie obviously that we talked about this briefly in iRobot, but like he is great in Ali. Like there's no question about that.
Correct.
But that's a movie that so few people really tune into, even in the context of like. There's one context of Will Smith being in Ali. Mm-hmm. There's another context of it being a Michael Mann film, and Michael Mann is like a huge deal. Mm-hmm. And yet, like, if for a lot of Michael Mann's movies, it's not like which one would you rather rewatch? You're going down the list if Ali, like to get to Ali.
Yeah,
you know.
I feel like a more stronger performance of that is more relevant in recent times might be Pursuit of Happiness.
I mean, that was such a huge thing at the time.
Oh,
you know,
absolutely adore
like
that film. Him and
really,
Will Smith single-handedly, just a masterclass in emotions. His chin quivering. Oh,
he was great.
No one quivers their chin better than Will Smith.
He was great in it. I don't remember. I've only seen it one time, and I feel like today, if I watched it, I would be like, this is so saccharine that it makes me want to puke.
Yeah.
You know? But
I'm an emotional cutter, so I do find that just very appealing. I just
yeah,
every month, like just around a certain time of the month, I'll just
I
throw it
remember.
on.
I remember when I watched it. I'm going to talk about my mom for a second. I remember when I watched it. We watched it, and I think my mom's reaction was like, "So it's just all about money?" And I was like, "That's a good point." But at the same time, it's like, well, you got to work, you know, to feed your kid. Yeah, I don't know.
It's a heartfelt story.
I remember I remember it being good, but I don't know. Like, that's a movie that's just forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people don't, you know, nobody's fucking firing it up.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's probably hard to find now, too. I don't know where you could watch it.
And to your mom's point, like, when she says, is this all about money? There's that one scene where it really comes down to him having the last $5 in his pocket. And some rich guy is like, hey, can I spot $5? I just got to park my car. And he gives it away.
Oh, man, you remember this way better than I do.
It was phenomenal.
All I remember is the Rubik's Cube scene and when he walks down the street at the end. And he, like, that's a really good scene when he's like, he like claps his hands and he's looks like he's like trying to hold back tears. Like, it is good.
Oh, God.
But I do think now today I would be like, oh, man, this is like so.
Yeah.
It's so just like over the top.
Oh, my God.
I don't know.
Like, my mom and I would probably sit and watch this and just be all moist in the face.
Yeah.
Oh, gross word for it, but yeah. Okay. Yes.
Face moisture.
Face moisture.
We'd be doing that face moisture thing that people do.
Well, how you say cry?
How you say
like
face moisture? Yeah.
We should get into the story at some point.
Nope. Because I have another important thing to say.
Fire away.
Elisa Bonet is in this movie.
Yeah.
She gets callously murdered.
Yeah.
Do you think this movie could be remade with Zoe Kravitz, her daughter?
100,000% yes.
Who's the leading man? I got it.
Jason Momoa. No, that's weird. That's weird. I don't know why I
Lakeith
said
Stanfield.
That. Yeah, dude.
But more importantly, this would be the second thing that Zoe Kravitz made that was a remake where Jack Black had a supporting role.
High fidelity, baby. Oh, perfect. You know
I think that's all Zoe Kravitz should actually do is remake things in which Jack Black had a supporting role.
And find a space for her where her mom could probably fit in. This movie has 40 people in it, and every single one of them is just famous as hell.
This movie is a face movie. This movie is just like, as they say on the great podcast, The Rewatchables, a that guy movie. Mm-hmm. Just so many Seth Green, Jamie Kennedy, Jack Black.
My God.
Fucking Jason Lee, Tom Sizemore,
all the lads.
Barry Pepper, shout out Vancouver Island.
Oh shit, Jake Busey. Breaking Back Lady.
Scott Conn.
Anna Gunn.
Yeah, Anna Gunn.
Hold on. Kingly performance, Miss Regina King herself.
Well, can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah, we'll get into it.
I have something on Regina King.
Go on. I do have to preface it by saying this is before Regina King became peak Regina King.
Oh yeah.
So
I mean, like 20 years before.
Yeah. This movie is the Ocean's 40 of
I don't want
to
like make anyone feel trepidatious. I really love Regina King.
Hell yeah.
I have something to say about maybe the representation of women in this film later.
Oh, you mean the non-existent nature of it?
Well, let's talk about it later. Okay.
Good.
So before we get into the plot, one more thing.
God damn it.
This film is clearly, has been noted everywhere, it's clearly indebted to the Francis Ford Coppola film The Conversation from 1974. Mm-hmm. Somehow Gene Hackman looks the same age as he did in that movie.
He does not age. Gene Hackman, he's the Keanu Reeves of now. Yeah. He just, my God, that guy looks... He was born looking 62.
Yeah. Have you seen The Conversation?
No, but I've seen of course I've seen it on TV back when it was on, but not anytime recently. But
yeah.
My God.
It's really good.
Yeah.
I've only seen it one time, and I saw it fairly recently.
Oh.
When I was taking a break from watching mediocre movies to being like, maybe I should watch something that's actually good.
Good.
Conversation is good. I don't remember a lot about it. It's a very quintessential 70s movie.
Yeah.
It's a movie that like people talk about because Coppola directed it between The Godfathers 1 and 2, and people are kind of like, it kind of gets forgotten, even though it was nominated for Best Picture. I'm pretty sure people are like, it kind of gets forgotten because it was made between those movies, and it's a really good movie. Hackman's really good in it, but Hackman, I like this movie, and I've seen it a lot. Hackman's an actor who I feel like I really I'm not educated on, because I've seen French Connection, Conversation, and Unforgiven, which I don't know how to gauge if that's like a proper education on Gene Hackman's work, because like other movies I looked up, like Hoosiers, Night Moves, Reds, like I don't know how much of a big deal they are.
Yeah,
someone who's more of a scholar can tell me. So
fair.
All you scholars out there, get in touch. But like,
Let us be known.
I've always really liked Gene Hackman, and he might be the best in this movie.
That's
like,
why.
Is a really
that's why this
role.
doesn't feel like, even though Will Smith isn't a majority of it, to me, Enemy of the State is a Gene Hackman film.
Hackman really takes over.
Yeah. And when Gene Hackman's not in it, I'm hoping we're gonna get to see more of Tom Sizemore. So it's between them. And you know,
it's also not to mention like Jon Voight is in this, and a fucking massive big deal of an actor too.
Fucking Jon Voight, man. Also,
and you know, I'm not one for like movie trivia, but I read that Will Smith took a pay cut because he wanted to work with Gene Hackman.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Cool.
Jon Voight. Damn. Jon Voight is the face.
Dude, he's the face of faces.
God damn.
That guy has got a face.
You know, there is a part in this film where they're obviously talking about the NSA and all the stuff that's going to follow in the plot. And then there's a screen that shows up with like Jon Voight's character. His birthday, of course, is 9/11. Which I think it's very important that we bring it up just before this movie starts.
I do like when I don't know if Jon Voight cared too much about this in the premiere of this film, but I do like when Jason Lee is like, it looks like a dude with a serious vitamin D deficiency.
1998. What a good time.
I always wonder about that when people have to cast actors who they end up making fun of their physical look.
Yeah.
I always wonder how they do that. Maybe a casting agent can get in touch. Tell me. Whatever. Who cares? Jon Voight's face is crazy.
He birthed Angelina Jolie, okay? So he did some.
Yeah, I mean, he also acted in a lot of really good stuff, too.
Also
he's a pretty incredible actor.
Whatever,
also, too, he's of the great tradition of, like, whatever you feel about him, that notable face gets you places in Hollywood. We're seeing it with Queen's Gambit chick right now, and she's got a notable face.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
All right, can we talk about the plot, or what? Are we ever going to get around to it?
Oh, I'm going to throw something at your head.
Who is
begging to start the plot?
So first off, who is the enemy of the state? No, just kidding.
No. Do you have an answer to that?
No,
I do. It's the inner me. No, it's over. Okay. Enemy of the state.
So basically, Jon Voight and Barry Pepper murder this congressman because he's not going to put forth essentially the Patriot Act. That's right. For short, let's just call it the Patriot Act.
Yeah.
One thing I love about Tony Scott's films, that little beeping, like, of like where you are. I fucking miss that so much from the 90s.
You know what? That shit got old real quick because for the 14th time when the NSA headquarters, we get it, my guy. There's one
we know where
here.
we are. Yeah. Also, it's crazy that Jon Voight is just there.
Yeah.
Like he's like a big wig in the NSA, and he's just like,
what are you doing?
Okay, murder him. And it's like, dude, you're at the scene of the crime. Have you ever seen The Americans? Yeah. Maybe leave.
Well, 1998 was pretty much a lawless wasteland, so no one knows anyone, no one knows anything.
Yeah,
which is a good case for this movie.
They could look in your shopping bags, and they could follow you around with satellites. They could never do that today.
Incredible camera technology. Why not, Jack Black? Live your dream.
And this movie should be called Enhance. So Will Smith is a labor lawyer. He's working on a mob case.
Yeah.
Tom Sizemore is the mobster. Mm-hmm. Now, it's important. Like, the important thing about Tom Sizemore is he has a tape, and Tom Sizemore wants that tape because it shows Tom Sizemore doing bad stuff. That's important for the ending of this film to know. Yes. And it's a great little setup. Lisa Bonet is like his informant. He passes her work and yada, yada, yada. To kick all the thing off, Jason Lee, he has been recording these migratory patterns of birds.
Yeah.
And he sees the murder on tape. He catches a murder on tape, and that's not good for Mr. Jon Voight.
No. So once that murder has happened, because this governor, whoever, disagreed to sign the bill that would essentially allow the government to tap everyone's phones and invade everyone's privacy, how Will Smith comes in touch with Jason Lee's character is one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah.
But we'll get into it.
Well, the only note I have, and we're going to talk to it right after this. The only note I have is that the NSA assembles, as we said, a crack team of, if you went into a room with all 6 of these guys, you'd be like, something very weird is about to happen. Because it's Jake Busey, Jamie Kennedy, Seth Green, Jack Black, Scott Conn.
Yeah.
And it's the weirdest movie. Yeah. It's the most like 2000s face movies. It's just
and it's pre-2000s, right? Which is even
98. But they're about to all kind of be in.
Hell yeah.
They're about to all be in kind of big movies that feature them a lot more, like
as hackers again.
Scott Conn is in Ocean's 11.
Yeah.
Jake Busey is in I don't know what, but he seems to be in everything at that point. Mm-hmm. Barry Pepper's in Saving Private Ryan, which I don't know if it was before or after Enemy of the State, but he's also in 25th Hour, big role in 25th Hour.
Hell yeah.
Seth Green, Austin Powers,
all of everything.
Jack Black is fucking Jack Black, and Jamie Kennedy. Like, what was Jamie Kennedy?
He was Jack Black's guy. Anyway, this is a conglomeration of the lads, as we like
boys,
to call them.
Yeah.
It's the boys starring Enemy of the State.
The boys go to find the tape, and Jason Lee escapes. Big chase set piece. Yeah. Kind of shows off all these like capabilities. All of this stuff about the NSA too is like completely fake.
Yeah.
Which is really kind of scary because now we know that that specific technology wasn't like totally accurate, their capabilities were actually scarier and more underhanded. Mm-hmm. But, that's just the world we live in.
And then literally 3 years later, we have the real life Patriot Act. So a lot of the truthers out there might even call this that, did Hollywood make this film as an idea for the government to implement? No, dummies. It already been done. Yeah. But anyway.
So Jason Lee runs into the lingerie shop where Will Smith is buying lingerie for Regina King.
Before he runs into it, though, Jason Lee is just this fucking goose photography guy.
He viciously insults
He's
John
just
Voight.
a photo guy who then is just hanging out in his bedroom making copies of this tape where a politician kills another politician. And then he just glances out his window and sees government spies.
No.
And
No. That's not how it happens.
Well, like the lady knocks on his door, tries to get him to come out.
You're missing something crucial. This is covered because it's Tony Scott. He's like, can I cover things that need 30 seconds? Can I cover them in 3? So Jason Lee watches his tape.
Yes.
He sees the murder. He calls a friend who works for a communist left-wing newspaper.
Sick.
And says, I have something for you. And then the NSA hears the call. They figure out who it is.
Yes.
And you don't see it on screen, but they go and kill the journalist.
Yes.
And they chase Jason Lee. Mm-hmm. Now, Will Smith is buying lingerie for Regina King.
And as he's shopping around, a good old Mr. Jason Lee with the lungs of a marathon sprinter who's already been bicycling down the street.
No, he bicycles after.
Oh, great.
That's how he dies.
So it's just been hauling ass.
The idea of him like you said, dropping the thing in Will's bag.
Yeah.
Now, I have this like intuition, which I could be totally wrong about. The idea of that scene being at the very beginning of a film is really interesting. That sounds like an encapsulating idea that someone could write something from, where it's like you're in a shop, someone runs in, they say help me, and then they run out and get killed.
Yeah.
That's an interesting idea for a film, kind of, and in a way you could build something on that. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of how I feel like that was the key scene that this movie is like built around. Mm-hmm. And then but they had to write all of this stuff kind of that happens before it. But yeah. So Jason Lee runs out, he gets hit by a car on a bike. This is great.
Oh, and it's such a good crash scene too.
You know what's an awesome Seth Green bit there?
Yeah.
When the way he delivers that line where he's like, he's down permanently. I don't know. It was like, I think of that line all the time. I think it's like such a great little je ne sais quoi. Like, I don't know.
Oof. It had a good impact.
Seth Green, consummate actor.
My God. All the lads. And then, of course, Jason Lee's character is being chased by these NSA guys, one of whom is Scott Conn.
The lads.
Scott Conn's hair is 2 feet high.
They make fun of it in the movie.
And it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's not just this movie. In like every other movie, this guy's hair enters a room before he does. It's just always prevalent. And it's always fun to see him kind of whooshing down the street.
Oh, yeah. He's great.
My God, what a performance.
And then from there, we meet Will Smith's family. Regina King, cute little boy. Not Regina King is a cute little boy.
And
she's a full-grown adult.
Yes.
Their son is a cute little child actor who was in a couple things in the 90s.
Oh, was he?
I think so. I feel like he was in some other stuff, and then I don't know whatever happened to him since.
Yeah.
He's Lakeith Stanfield today.
Today. He is Atlanta.
He wasn't back then, but he became Lakeith Stanfield. So, Regina King.
Yes.
Women in this movie don't get a real fair representation.
No. You know what? They're all there to support Will Smith and his character development and be a little beanbag for who he is as a person or was as a person.
But even her and Breaking Bad woman,
Anna Gunn, yeah.
Anna Gunn, they're kind of like just naggy wives.
100%.
And it's lame.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
And that's why we need the Patriot Act. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
What if that is the moral of the story? Privacy need to be invaded.
Yeah.
So that men can stay humble.
It's just it's kind of a shame because like all three kind of main women characters in the film, Regina King, Anna Gunn, and Lisa Bonet are all really good actresses.
Hell yeah.
And performers, and like certainly King and Gunn are just kind of just naggy, seemingly miserable. I mean, I get it from Anna Gunn because she's married to John Voight in this film. Like, I wouldn't be super.
I would be the same.
I wouldn't be super stoked to take his pants down at night and be like, "Oh God, not this again." Could you do a fucking sit-up?
Staring at the void every night. No.
Staring deep into the void.
Deep into the void. I hate this for me. Dude, although, you know.
I wish my husband made meth.
I know. Well, she has exciting things in her future, so Breaking Bad.
Yeah, which, again, too, like, I think very uncharitable people also think of Breaking Bad, and they're like, well, she's a nagging wife in that.
Oh my
and it's
God,
like,
that's
no,
right.
She's a lot more in that fucking show than just a nagging wife, and she's really good in it. Anna Gunn is a great actress. Yeah.
I think it was a good choice to have Will Smith not be a good boy in this. It was good that they gave him a bit of layering where he cheats on his wife Regina King.
He has.
And Lisa Bonet is someone who he has an affair with. They don't show us any of that. It's already happened in the past.
And
he's gone to therapy for it. They went to couples counseling. But my God, I would cheat on my wife for Lisa Bonet. Are you kidding me? It's Lisa Bonet.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's the Bonet.
The Bonet.
The Bonet can get it. Sorry, respectfully. Can respectfully get it.
Regina King just seems like a plot device.
Yes.
This is frustrating.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And my God, what a loss for this movie to not have utilized her in a better way.
One of my favorite aspects of the movie is so when John Voight finds out that Will Smith might have the device, that whole thing he says about like tearing apart his life, that's kind of one of my favorite like plot options in all sorts of works, is when you're like, when the man or woman or character gets everything taken from them forcibly, and the injustice of it. I'm a person who cares a lot about injustice, even in the smallest aspects of my life, and the injustice of it really gets me going. And the whole way that it's smart to set up how Will had an affair with Lisa Bonet, because later it totally adds credence to the fact that Regina King believes that he's rekindled their affair.
That's right.
And that's kind of my favorite aspect of the movie, is how Will Smith has to, not only does he have to prove his innocence to like the government, he also has to prove his innocence to his family.
Wife. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So that's but again, like, I just don't think she's a very good character, and it's a shame because Regina King is
awesome.
Pretty good actress.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, you know, they take away everything in his life. They trash his house. Most importantly, they steal his blender.
Yeah.
He loves that blender. And then they like fuck up his credit cards. They smear him in the press. They bug him with a bunch of NSA bugs and stuff.
My God, can we talk about the little bugs? Because they're my favorite part of the movie. Back in the day when you had to have a separate tiny little bug for every part of your clothing. So one bug that goes in the shoe, one bug that goes in the pants. What if he just, and they obviously break into his locker to try to replicate the items he owns with the bugged items. And one of those things is, I don't know, like a regular watch.
Yeah.
What if he just had like a Spider-Man watch or something?
What if they just put it on a fucking cell phone that has a microphone on it? Am I right, ladies?
What if they couldn't?
Yeah.
What if they couldn't replicate those items? There's such a huge loop. Like,
what if he had a bespoke Spider-Man watch?
Yes. What if he was a man?
They're like, where'd you get that watch? You think it's custom?
It's custom, and then that's it. So the moral of the story is, if you don't want to get bugged by the government, get merch. Get merch that is very specific and niche.
Also, put your phone in a trash compactor.
Yeah, for sure. That.
Yeah. So Will Smith tries to find Brill, which is Gene Hackman, who is Lisa Bonet's source, who she keeps getting all the kind of stuff from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so essentially, he eventually, after it's very arduous because lots of people fake being Hackman.
Yeah.
Another face, fucking Gabriel. What's his name?
NSA agent.
Gabriel Union? No, it's
Gabriel
Byrne.
There you go.
Gabe Byrne. Yeah, and then finally, he meets Gene Hackman. Brill. Hackman arrives.
Ugh, and what an introduction.
Yeah.
And
Hackman and Smith are good together.
They are good together. Yeah. And there is not like a weird... sometimes when they do the pairing of the wise older guy with a young wisecrack guy, and the older guy is always just annoyed or very serious. This was perfect. Gene Hackman was like, yeah, I'm old and grumpy,
he
but
is
also
such a crank in this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's open to criticism. He takes it in a way that it's, like he shits on Will Smith a little bit, but then every time Will Smith calls him like a name, or like an old man or silly goose, is like, yeah, I'm tired.
They really argue, and like it is kind of like they are like both pissed at each other a lot. It's really funny.
It's a nice father-son thing, but like they both hate each other, and it's cute.
Yeah, Hackman is so like when he meets him again later, he's like, "Thought I told you to leave me the fuck alone."
Oh,
like,
the way he says "fuck" is so good. It's just so raspy.
Also, one thing I really love about Hackman's character in this is the complete how he's like, what he says it to him at one point. He's like, if I see you again, I'll fucking kill you.
Yeah.
Like the complete harshness,
sincerity,
where he's like, it's like he doesn't even have a human care of Will Smith at all. Mm-mm. He's just like, well, I see you again, I'll fucking kill you.
Yeah.
And then, he softens a little bit once Will Smith fucks up his entire life. It's cool. The part where he's like, I've low blood sugar. I get cranky when I
that's my
eaten.
favorite.
Yeah,
they're
scene,
both.
Yeah.
See, that's what I mean by him being soft and like open to Will Smith's criticism in a way that they kind of get each other after a while, and that's sweet.
And then they go to dinner, and I have to point out, because we're contractually obligated
yeah.
to bring up Jarhead every podcast. Hackman's character reminds me a lot of Jamie Foxx's.
Oh,
you remember
really?
in Jarhead how he says I love my fucking job.
Yeah,
that's what Hackman was like at the NSA. He said he's like, I loved the agency, I loved doing this, but then the politics of it changed.
Right, but why would you say that it's very similar to Jamie Foxx's character? Is it just the passion? Because I feel like Jamie Foxx knows that the negative part of being in the army and loves it despite. Jamie Foxx.
I think Hackman does too, though.
But like Hackman is completely cut off in a way that he lost touch with his entire family.
Not when he loved it. Not when he loved it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I wonder if Hackman thought that what the government was doing was still for the good and for the people.
Not during this movie, no.
Oh, interesting.
During the events of this movie, he's very critical of the government. He would not have liked the Patriot Act. But when he worked in the agency, as he said, prior to the overthrow of Iran, he loved his job.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, is that maybe Jamie Foxx's character is not the same in the way that Gene Hackman's younger character would have been, because Jamie Foxx's character might know in Jarhead that the government is not doing good things, but he loves his job regardless.
I don't think he cares.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
He's just like, I got a gun on my arm.
I love my fucking job.
I love my fucking job.
Yeah, and so they make a plan from there. They go for dinner and they make a plan to get back at the... We're also... we're skipping over. There's like tons of action set pieces that are very good and very Tony Scottish.
Mm-hmm.
They are long in this movie. Like
they take their time.
The one from when Will Smith goes to meet Brill the first time to when they meet again after he finds out Lisa Bonet has died. Lisa Bonet dies. That is like a very long set piece.
Mm-hmm.
And then...
Can I say one of my favorite action scenes is very early on in the movie is when Will Smith meets Tom Sizemore's character. And Tom Sizemore plays this almost like a cartoon mobster, right? He's just this sweaty guy sitting in a basement eating spaghetti. And that looks like a freaking sport. He's the sweatiest he's ever been.
Yes, he looks...
Tom Sizemore's main job probably was just sweating into bottles. Selling that.
Most people in Tony Scott's films are wet.
They're so wet.
A lot of the time.
What?
Yeah. Things are... He's got a lot of wetness to him.
But then, like, Will Smith's character is always wearing a woolen cap. So I'm like, what's the weather?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how you know he's the hero. He's the driest.
Love it.
Also, there's 3-bit Sopranos cast members in this film that show up, which is pretty dope. I'm a big fan of that.
Gotta watch it to find the Easter Sopran eggs.
Sopranics, yeah. Essentially, like they take the NSA's equipment and they bug a congressman.
Yes.
And that puts John Voight in the hot seat because the NSA like director guy finds out, because it's a big scandal, that their own equipment is using to bug the politician.
Yeah.
And
a little tit for tat.
Schaefer, the NSA head, is one of my favorite character tropes ever in military or government whatever movies.
Yeah.
Is the guy who's doing generally the right thing and is a total fucking asshole about it. Yeah. That scene where he gives a speech about like, you know, if this is a legitimate op, then so be it, or like whatever. And I love that unequivocal, like, whoever did this is going to jail. Yeah, basically, which is great. And then John Voight is like, oh boy.
I think that's definitely like hey, the government is still good, guys. Don't forget that the government, we're doing the good.
Well, I don't know about that.
There's a couple of rotten eggs, like John Voight's character and his little army of spies who want to disrupt democracy.
I don't know about that. I think that in lots of movies, I think there are stages, there are people who work in government who even work in these very questionable agencies who it's just like the belief is right. Like they want to do the right thing, but they do end up doing bad things too.
Sure, but all I'm saying is they showcase, end of the day, government, good guy.
Yeah.
Some people, bad guys. So trust in the America.
Bad apples in the whereas like it's kind of the NSA is like, it's not great.
They have to do that.
Yeah.
And then that's why a couple of years later we get the Patriot Act.
Can I draw another really good comparison? The actor who I fucking love, who plays Stannis Baratheon in Game of Thrones, Irish guy. He has a very similar scene in Zero Dark 30 where he shows up for 2 scenes and he has to reject their application to go into the house where bin Laden ultimately is because they don't have enough evidence. And he is very to the point, and he has a great, go watch that scene on YouTube. It's fantastic. But someone asks him, they're like, why do you keep rejecting it? And he says the thing. He was like, remember, I was here when you guys said there was WMDs in Iraq and there wasn't. So we're being cautious, actually. Nice. Okay. And stuff like that, where you're just kind of like, well, if this is this guy's job, at least he's kind of trying to do the right thing. And it's the same with this guy Schaefer. He's in one scene, and as an actor myself, as a bit part supporting actor who belongs in the Academy, it's like it's just a tasty little speech to give. Are you laughing at me?
Would I ever?
I'm a performer at heart.
I bet like Eddie Snowden watched this as an 8-year-old when this movie came out probably, and was like, well, that's never going to happen. And then he grew up and lived his dreams. And that's what I want for you. So go forth
Thanks. I've got a part in the Triangle of Sadness franchise, so
You're the triangle.
but I'm not going to appear till like 4 or 5.
You're the rock that gets thrown at a lady's head, but we never get to see it. Ugh.
So, this leads to Voight has to go get the tape. He has to get all the evidence, basically.
Yeah.
He ends up having a showdown with Hackman and Smith, and they kidnap them. And it looks like bad news. And then Smith says, "I know where the tape is. Go to this restaurant, Tom Sizemore's restaurant."
Yeah.
This conclusion I find really unique. You pointed at me, but I just want to finish my thought on this. It's really unique to have a non-comedy scene where two guys are having a different conversation but don't know it.
Yes.
And it's interesting to set this up in a way. And honestly, the 20 men pointing guns at each other and shooting each other to death in 30 seconds is the kind of conclusion I miss in these days.
Yes, it's so satisfying. But like a very crucial thing before that, and of course people who've seen the movie already know it, but it's so important that having the tape that proves a politician's corruption, usually in most movies, that tape is what reveals, haha, you were wrong all along, and then the politician gets punished. Somewhere in this movie, that fucking tape gets burned, and my heart stopped. Because that tape was driving his entire proof, right? Will Smith, in order to bring that tape to the front, prove that John Voight's a corrupt person, but that tape is gone. How is he going to prove it?
Did it get blown up?
Yeah, doesn't have a tape.
I thought they took it.
No, there's no tape at all. Because it gets fully burnt in the car, and he obviously has to stamp it out. He jumps out of the car, his arm's on fire, and it's gone. So he fully comes up with this convoluted plan to marry this tape story to Tom Sizemore's tape story.
I've seen this movie like 5 times. I didn't notice that. Maybe
see, and it's so great because obviously there's no great,
I guess
reveal.
Then the only road kind of leads to death. Then in that case,
exactly,
right? Like,
and still they come out just okay
because Voight doesn't believe they have the tape.
Yeah.
Okay.
You just have to pull a bluff, and it was fantastically executed because there's two guys believing in two different tapes.
I absolutely love to, at the end, when Hackman just walks off with the cat.
Yeah. What is with Will Smith and cats, dude? Every movie now.
Will Smith is a charismatic and talented actor.
Yeah.
But there's we've seen him act across from Margot Robbie, Gene Hackman, Tommy Lee Jones,
all the hotties,
and he just always has the most, chemistry with the cat.
Yeah,
this is normal.
He's just a pussy magnet. What are you gonna do about it?
Whoa,
that's what that is. What the movies? They're saying it, not me. Hell yeah. This movie, man.
Will heads home. Happily ever after, Christmas time again. Oh, also. Great Christmas film.
I was just going to say that just before you interrupted me.
Yeah,
God, took it out of my mouth. This movie, it's got to dethrone Die Hard as a Christmas movie. Although, I don't know.
I didn't know Die Hard wasn't. Just kidding.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, great Christmas film, and then it turns out Gene Hackman is hacked his own. It's a sweet little ending. Gene Hackman's off in the middle of nowhere with his cat and his boat. Oh, also, sorry, but there's a couple. Going back to the cat. So the cat kind of looks like
cat discourse.
When you kind of get the cat, you're just like, oh, that's an all right cat. I don't mind it.
Yeah.
But then there's a couple shots of the fucking little face of that cat.
Yeah.
Such a cutie. Ugh. Holy shit.
Yeah.
They got the sexiest little cat for this movie. It's amazing. Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. And then, you know what? The enemy of the state stopped, and it's a good thing because now the government doesn't know where we are at any given moment and can't.
And we're all safe and good and all is well.
Yeah, and everyone can, have access to life-saving abortions and things like that.
Yay.
And that's really cool.
Utopia.
Yeah. Really glad this never came true.
I want a sequel to this film so bad. I want Enemy of the State 2 to exist.
Well, you don't even need to make a sequel of this movie, but they tried to do similar things like the Snowden film, and I think I haven't seen it, but like the Fifth Estate movie about the WikiLeaks guy are kind of in a similar vein, I think.
I'm saying action movie. I'm saying I want some Scott action where there's like Faraday cage buildings getting blown up.
You know what is the thing is about like modern surveillance is it's so fucking boring.
Yeah.
It's not like this, and that's what I think. I honestly, it sounds silly to say, I honestly think that's why people don't care very much about it today, is because it's so boring to hear about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like people don't want to talk about like metadata. You know, they
want
to be like they're more attracted to that stuff where like people, even though I'm pretty sure it's been proven to not be true, but people are more interested in stuff where it's like Facebook listens to my phone.
Right.
But that's not actually true. They're actually more capable than that. And that's why it seems like it. That's what's so weird about it. That's what's so scary about it. But people don't want to know that it's like, oh, they collect this like metadata and blah, blah, blah about you. It's like so much more sophisticated. People just want the simple answer.
Yeah.
And like but this also like, it's also what fuels a lot of like really dumb conspiracy theories about the government being able to track you. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, well, dude, if the government wanted to find you, they just could.
Yeah.
Oh, they don't literally need to be looking through a satellite at you. Like,
no.
It's a lot more sophisticated than that, but people want they want something that's more palatable to them to understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want a palatable action film where things get blown up in Enemy of the State 2.
Yeah.
For the year 2023.
Yeah, well now they probably could do a lot of the stuff they do in Enemy of the State, where at the time it was like made up.
Yeah, now I want, if I'm shopping at Victoria's Secret or whatever, I want the camera to be able to zoom into my bag and know that there is a soft toy in there.
You're like looking at this Victoria's Secret model and she's like pointing at her breasts, and then there's a drone trying to stick its face into your bag, and you're like, oh, I haven't been.
This drone, it won't leave me alone.
I've been so distracted. The drone is like, my face is up here.
So sorry, drone.
Open your bag, young lady.
Yeah. I'm only human. Enemy of the State.
Yeah, I think this movie is really good.
Hell yeah.
Can I ask a loaded question?
Fire away.
Do you think it's good we have all this surveillance? No.
Me personally,
do you
yes.
think it's great? Do you think the Patriot Act was good? Yes or no? Tell me now.
God. Yo, they wasted no time in coming up with that, right? Like no time. And of course, I'm not saying 9/11 was an inside job. Is not what I'm saying.
Well, I can edit that and make you say that
okay.
If you want me to.
9/11, not just inside job. Is not what I'm saying.
So you know what? Okay, maybe I don't remember correctly.
Yeah.
Maybe the person who knows more about Gene Hackman can also call him up and tell me about this. But if I remember, there was like kind of accusations towards the Bush administration that basically like they had this kind of legislation like in the gun and they were waiting for a chance to fire it.
Well, of course.
You know, and much like they had, you know, there was like people like standing on the border of Iraq being like, did anything happen that can allow us to go in here yet? And like they, you know what I mean? Like I think that was like.
You mean like waiting for something to happen? So they just did the 9/11?
Well, no, like 9/11 was that thing.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And they had always wanted a reason to incorporate powers like the Patriot Act.
Yeah.
Which have done nothing but good for society. I'm telling you.
Guys, check it out.
Guys, we're kind of going to shift our morality towards a more like, we're a fully Patriot Act apologist podcast.
We're going to get a really serious, weird click audience after this episode comes out. So.
No, I want to reassure everyone, this is not a joke. The Patriot Act was awesome.
Stop. Jesus Christ. Oh, everything hurts and I'm dying. Yeah.
It's interesting because, like, I thought this movie, I would think more about, like, the surveillance state we do live in, which, like, we do live in it.
Yeah.
But this movie, like, nothing in this movie is real. Like, it was all kind of made up.
Yeah.
And now today, it's just so different. So,
man,
I don't know.
1998.
Yeah.
What a visionary, dude.
Well, like, even, like, God, some of the stuff they were capable of, I'm just kind of like, I can barely do that today.
Oh yeah. Also, I love the little things they say to describe certain things, like Gene Hackman's character would try to explain to Will Smith, like, the hippity-doo and the humpty-dumpty of the thingamajigabob. And
That's my favorite line.
Yeah, like, I am good at memory. And Will Smith was just like, oh, could you explain that in English? And he's like, no, the hippity-dippity-jibbity-bob, do you understand it or not? It's like, okay, got it, technology. And that's great. That's how I feel listening to most.
Well, I mean, one of the reasons,
things.
like coming back to what we were talking about earlier with Tony Scott, he really puts you in the shoes of the protagonist. Like, that's why the protagonists are all regular people.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes them so effective as protagonists. Yeah, he was so good at that, I think.
This is why Lisa Bonet is not the lead, because she's not regular people.
Yeah, also it was 1998.
She's Lisa Bonet.
And you can't make $200 million on a movie if a woman's the lead. That would be insane.
Yeah, that'd be mad.
Are you kidding?
No.
It's got to be Will Smith and a cat.
Oh, Zoe Kravitz, Catwoman, Will Smith and the cat. I don't know. This is some triangle theory that I'll come back to it.
The triangle, yeah.
I'm formulating it in my
Is
head.
the triangle theory shorthand for something that's totally not well educated?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember it. I have it about Neon
Something
Demon.
really
Yeah.
stupid dumb. Yeah.
Anything more about this?
I mean, just I want more. I want more of Enemy of the State films. I'm a sucker for government spy shit. It's my jam.
I think you could make a film off like this today that is incredibly depressing. Do you remember that movie, the Netflix documentary, the one about like the social networks?
The camera one?
No, the one that was like all about how addictive, how social networks
yeah,
manipulate.
yeah.
What was it called? The Social Contract?
Social Dilemma?
The Social Dilemma.
Mm.
That movie. When that came out 2021, dude. So Snowden's whole things, they came out in 2013.
Yeah.
And I remember like hearing people being like, oh, I never realized that was happening. And I was always like, what?
Yeah.
Why do you think you're always on your phone?
Yeah.
You
silly goose.
And like I don't know, they like they do gather all this shit about us. And that's the thing is like I'm sitting here kind of like yelling at a cloud because like I'm no different.
No.
And it does frustrate me because like I want autonomy of my personhood even when I'm online.
Yeah.
But also I want to live in the modern world and have,
things catered to me.
I want to take a fucking lift like we did twice today, you know? I don't know.
I want my stuff, my identity taken. I would love for the internet to tell me what is good for me. I want ads that are very specific to what I want to see. Personally, what am I going to hide? Take it.
But
This ad is brought to you by Patriot Act. Gotcha, fool.
This episode is sponsored by the Patriot Act.
There you go.
But that's like that kind of line of argumentation doesn't really work because it doesn't work for everybody.
100% not, and that's why it's a foolish argument.
Yeah, you're lucky to be able to be like, oh, what do I have to hide? It's like, well, lots of people do have things to hide that are legitimate, because
they want to. And you should want to be able to you should be allowed to have privacy.
Hell yeah. And you should also like the idea that really irks me?
Yeah.
Irks me is the idea of someone way smarter than me. I don't remember who put it as like I said, like your personhood, like you don't have rights over your personhood in a way.
Yeah.
And we consent to these things because we don't read the terms of service, but I do kind of find it frustrating that it's like
it's beyond your control at this point.
Yeah, and it's also like so for an example from a company is like I got to pay for it and I got to pay for it. Like I pay for it once with my money and I pay for it again with use just like collecting all this data about me.
With your time and your presence.
And then you push ads that are like, you like the Patriot Act? You're going to love this.
Check it out. It's only a 5,000-page document.
Patriot Act for $5.99 a month.
Did you think the people who wrote...
Extra government violations on all your devices.
That's the voice in the guy's head. Like, people who wrote the Patriot Act after they watched this movie was like, my God, dude. How good was John Voight in this?
Americans on cell phones. I want to hear. Yeah.
Yeah. If anything, we want like less of wanting to hear people and say what they listen to what they say, especially with Instagram and stories and reels. Is like mute.
Well, you know what? Today is an interesting time for it because of the talk of TikTok being banned in the United States.
Yeah.
And since Canada, the way we govern is we look at the United States, and then Justin Trudeau is just kind of like, that's a good idea. And then he never looks at what's happening in Canada and is like, maybe I should help them. So
he's like, what's India doing with TikTok though? They banned it too?
Yeah, so like he might ban it here if the United States pulls the trigger.
And what am I going to do with all of my free time?
Just get on those Instagram reels.
Write a Patriot Act Part 2. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to corrupt your
You're going to write to the government and be like, I would like Patriot Act 2.0, please.
I'm going to personally restrict your freedom.
But it's prescient today because like, I mean, TikTok is just like it's like a spy tool, like a really good one, I think.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't have any proof for that, but like...
That's what they say.
But like all of these networks are really good, just like kind of data gathering tools that we've all signed up for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also like TikTok is like, it looks at you, your voice, your everything, your surroundings, all this kind of stuff, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks at you using Snapchat.
Yeah.
Wow, TikTok. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it is like, and people just don't care.
Mm-mm.
And even people who care, like myself, like still use features of the modern world that violate my right to privacy a little bit.
Yeah.
Just for the sake of convenience, you know? And I'm super angry about it. No, it's hard. I find this conversation just very self-defeating because I think about this a lot. I think about it all the time.
Yeah. And to no end, right? You're just like, okay, I'm in the smack dab middle of this cesspool, and what are you gonna do?
It's weird because it's like, well, what is like the alternative is like turning it all off, but there are certain things that I'm like, yeah, but I really like that.
I know I work at a marketing job, and I know people at my work who are like, I'm just gonna have to delete all the freaking social media things, man. It's too much.
Yeah,
it's too much. Like their phones, they just had like delete TikTok, delete Instagram. It's just gotta go. Imagine that. That's part of our jobs, and we're just like, can't have it anymore. Can't take it.
I remember when I was in university, back when I used to have a fucking brain, and the Patriot Act was riding high. I have a really useful degree in communications, and there was all this like, in all of the stuff we talked about, people were like, yeah, so this is killing the world in lots of ways.
Yeah.
And like this, I'm telling you, this is like 2011, and it's certainly killing the world now. They're like, this is killing the world, and it's killing the way people behave. So here's your degree, and go try and find a job in it. And it's like, why would anyone want to? Like, why would anyone want to do that? Why would anyone want to do it today? Like, look at how it's affected. Yeah. You know, I don't know.
I mean, that it is ripe for the time. Now that you're talking about like surveillance state, and I remember back in 2013. I think is when we had a chance. Super fortunate to be able to even talk to Edward Snowden through like a secure network.
You talked to him.
Yeah, it was back in college, and we figured out a way to, and he was gracious enough to.
Can I ask something?
Yeah.
You said you loved the surveillance state though earlier. You were like, I absolutely love it. I think it's the greatest thing ever. Right?
I never.
Can we go
that.
back on the tape?
I'm trying to gaslight you in reverse. Is what's happening.
Yeah. So every time, every time Edward
Snowden
Snowden said something when we asked him a question, you were just like.
I was in the back booing him so hard, like 3 people in the room, and he's like, "Why is that brown lady booing me?" He's like, "What? You can't take away my freedom of speech, Snowden." No.
You've never told me about this. You talked to him. Was he in Russia?
No one knows. Of course. I mean, the assumption is that he was, but then. He came in through the secure network, and we were all, like, the people in the room were able to ask him questions about democracy, about his lunch, you know, just hanging out with our boy Eddie.
He's like, I don't want to give anything away, but pierogies.
Yeah. He loves the Scots, so who doesn't, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Confusingly, you were in Scotland. We don't have to get into it.
No.
You're Indian. You're not Canadian. You were in Scotland. You don't sound Indian. I don't know what's.
You don't know me.
You are a complete product of the Patriot Act.
I am a product of your imagination. I'm not even here right now. I am the surveillance state. Bra, bra. Oh, good times.
Yeah.
But yeah, enemy of the state, baby.
Yeah. I mean, delete your Facebook. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, come on. What are you doing on it
Come on,
now?
dude. Yeah. Yep.
Ugh.
Oh.
Yeah.
You got anything else? We're going to forego a top 5 today. I didn't have a top 5.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even think about the top 5 for this one. You know what?
Top 5.
We got to do one off the cuff.
Top 5 violations that the Patriot Act perpetrated. Yeah.
No, even better. Top 5 things that you're proud that we have today because of the Patriot Act. Number 1, Facebook. There's a reason it exists.
I don't think. Yeah, I want to. Sorry. Another point I actually want to bring up.
Mm-hmm.
I know that we ended up talking about like social media, and that is different than like government surveillance. But like, is it really? Ultimately, is kind of what like.
Is it different than government surveillance?
Yeah, like what I think about a lot is like, is it that different, and why does it honestly matter that much?
God, no.
Because like people kind of think. So here's a good example. As we just said, you're from India?
Parts of the world.
What did I say? India, right?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. And you left because they didn't have the Patriot Act.
I left because my democracy was too secure.
But in a place like that, where there are bad things that happen and things organized through social media to hurt people who do not maybe practice a similar religion to most of the country.
As with most of the world, yeah.
You know, it's like governmental or ruling bodies have found a way to use those tools, even though the tools are just there to help Mark Zuckerberg make $1 billion, which is cool.
Cool, super cool.
That like these government people or people with like ambitions towards power have found a way to work through them, right?
Yeah.
The BJP being one, Mr. Trump being another, Putin, like they it's just the evolution of state media, right? There's an intermediary, but they use it because, because the algorithms end up being like pushing people over the edge towards kind of extremism and radicalism.
Yeah.
And so ultimately, I think when Snowden revealed all this stuff, it seemed a lot more benign than it is now. But now, in 10 years later, I think it's like it's revealing how crazy it is, because people are like, oh, this isn't just a thing, it's a tool. And that's what's so scary about it. And the NSA and the CIA, while they have all these scary capabilities, not an enemy of the state because that's all fake, they don't need to develop a lot of things like this because they can use these intermediary tools to, overthrow a government or something like that. I don't know.
Try it.
If this existed back when the CIA was like overthrowing governments, I mean, the entire world would be American. It would be like, we can overthrow anybody.
You know what? It's a good point about the internet and particularly social media. When was the last time you saw news on cable news, though? Every piece of news really is modified for the internet by the internet.
Yeah,
so why not?
And it goes through an algorithmic intermediary, which may be like changing now with AI and stuff. But ultimately, like the last time I watched like real news, like it was through YouTube. I was watching a live version of a thing through YouTube, and I was watching a news story about how amazing the Patriot Act is and how
I was just getting my bald eagle tattoo. Outline ready. Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I was putting a "fuck Trudeau" sticker on my truck.
It's because you think he's super sexy and you want to fuck him. Oh, that's different. That's a different
Why
sticker.
doesn't the Patriot Act ever patriot me?
This is a stupid question. Is there an equivalent of Patriot Act in Canada?
No, but I know that Canada is one of I would have to maybe I should have done some research before we did this fucking thing. I know that Canada is one of the most surveilled countries in the world, though.
Oh, understandably. Yeah.
Like they're part of a kind of a compact with lots of English speaking nations, the US, Canada, the UK, and a couple others that are like, I think they call them the Five Eyes. They're heavily surveilled. Yeah.
Sexy.
Which is part of democracy in a way, but also kind of scary too. Like people comment in like the UK, the use of CCTV everywhere is a little unsettling because like they're surveilled just blatantly.
Big Brother's watching.
Yeah. Yeah.
God, I wish he was. This is weird.
How bummed would you be if you lived in Airstrip 1 and you were just kind of like, Big Brother never notices me.
Big Brother doesn't even care about me.
They always promise that he's watching. And I fucking do stuff against the state all the time. And they don't even
cooked
care.
For whom?
They don't even give a shit.
No.
Stupid.
I miss you, Big Brother.
Tread on me, brother. All right.
Notice me, Big Brother. This is a weird.
Big Brother, please.
That's
Big Brother. I always want you to notice.
Jesus Christ.
That's like the fantasy of like Ben Shapiro and Charlie Kirk.
Oh my God.
Psychos, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Ben Shapiro's fantasy is Ben Shapiro, dude.
Yeah.
He wants a mirror.
Ben Shapiro's fantasy is like looking down in his podcasting chair and seeing his own face in his crotch. Yeah. Looking back up.
Gazing back
You're
up.
doing a very good job, Ben.
Ben's proud of Ben. That's all that matters to him. Yeah.
All right. Well, Enemy of the State. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
Delete your Facebook. Delete your Twitter.
Yeah, man.
Go outside, eat an apple, shit like that.
An apple.
Yeah, why not? Apples are good for you. They're better for you than Facebook.
Okay. Apple lobby.
Yep. When an apple make $1 billion. Am I right, ladies? Okay. We love y'all.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.